Hey, everybody. Ash, just want to make sure it still says start broadcast on my side. So do I need to go ahead and click that?
Nope, we're started.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so welcome everybody. The features we're going to be looking at today may not be completely new to BIM 360 environment. However, they are relatively new to the BIM 360 design workflow. Autodesk has been working on unifying access to existing tools that previously were only available in either the construction workflow using the plans folder or the BIM 360 design workflow using the project folder. So those common tools are now available in both workflows. We're going to be looking at one of the features that recently became available to BIM 360 design workflow, and that's the review and approval workflow. If you're interested in the sets and the transmittals, check out Hagerman's Webinars on Demand. I did a presentation for those topics a few months back. As more tools join the list of unified BIM 360 tools, check back for additional presentations in the future. But hopefully this presentation will provide you the information you need to start using the approval workflow on the BIM 360 projects. The reviews workflow provides project team members the workflow for reviewing, commenting, and approving project documents. The approval workflow feature enables document managers to facilitate, control, and automate the distribution of documents to project members. Members designated as reviewers can then review and comment on documents, and members designated as approvers can give final approval for the documents to be used. Once project review templates are established, there are three main areas in the review process: the initiator, the reviewer, and the approver. There can be more than one reviewer or approver, and the initiator can also be the approver, depending on the review template selected by the initiator. The approval workflow enables project members designated as initiators to facilitate, control, and automate that distribution of the documents to the other members. Members designated as reviewers can then review and comment on the documents, and members designated as approvers can give the final approval for those documents. Once a project admin has configured one or more workflows, the project team can get started with the review process. To initiate a review, the team member with initiate permissions will be able to select a single document, multiple documents, or an entire folder. Once they've selected what the document or folder that they want, they can choose Submit for Review from the options, from a right-click option or from the options menu. Depending upon the workflow template configured by the project admin, the project initiator may be able to choose between one or more approval workflows, selecting the drop-down. Give the review a name and review the documents to be included in the review. Select Add Documents to add or remove documents associated to the review. Add additional notes for the review as well. These notes will be included in the automated emails that are sent out to reviewers. Once the Submit button is selected, you'll be prompted to identify who will be the reviewer or reviewers and who is going to be the approver for this review. Select a reviewer from the list. A predetermined list of team members, roles, or companies will be available to choose from depending on how the project admin set up the project review template that was selected. Add any other project members that you would like to be notified that a review has been submitted for approval. Once you select Send, an email notification will be sent to the participants in the workflow, as well as other project team members that you can choose to be notified of the review process. The team members assigned as a reviewer will then go through the review process with the ability to add markups from within the BIM 360 viewer, add comments for each document. Excuse me. To participate in the reviewer can select the link in the email that was automatically sent to them, or by going to the Review tab in Document Management. As the list of reviews grows, there is an option to filter the available reviews by status, workflow template, initiator, or next action due date. Click the filter at the top left, or click the name column header to sort the documents alphabetically. Once Start Review is selected, the assigned team members can then go through the review process, adding comments or markups within the BIM 360 viewer for each document. And if you're not familiar with that, you can just simply select the document to open it up in that BIM 360 viewer. If you have questions on using the BIM 360 viewer, I've got presentations on our on-demand website for that as well. Once the files are reviewed, redlined, and comments are added as needed, the reviewer can select the Submit Review button. An email will be sent to the individuals assigned for the next step in the review approval workflow. The next individual in the defined workflow will be able to then continue to review or approve the next step depending on the workflow template. In the final step, the designated approver will finalize the review process for this set of files. The designated approver will receive an email once the final review is ready for approval. They can select the link in the email or return to BIM 360 Docs Review tab to get started. The designated approver will start the final review. The design. Got a little head there. The designated approver will then go through the final review process that will have the ability to add the markups again from the BIM 360 viewer and comments. The designated approver will set the approval status on the document-by-document basis. Note the approval on each document is version specific. Once the review is complete, the designated approver will select Submit Review to finalize the review process. This will close the review. In all cases, the documents will remain in the original folder with the approval status displayed. Depending upon the configuration set up by the project admin, an additional action in which the approved documents are copied to another folder may occur. We'll take a look at how this is set up next as we explore how the project admin can set up a review and approval workflow for the project. So as I mentioned, the project admin first has to define the approval process that the initiators can then select. So let's take a closer look at that. So once the review templates are established for the project, the designated initiators can start that review. So depending on the templates used for each workflow, there can be multiple reviewers, a group of reviewers. You can have multiple templates set up either by the type of review, or if you've got multiple disciplines, you can have one set up for each discipline and have different people associated or assigned as initiators and reviewers. To get started with creating a new review and approval template for the project admin will need to go to the project admin module to create the new approval process. In the project management module on the services tab, the project admin will select active document management service from the list. Once the document management module is selected, the review tab will be revealed. If you don't have any reviews currently, it will look very much like this slide. If you have some already, then they'll be listed, and I'll show you that in a minute. So in this case, we're assuming we have no templates created yet for the review workflow. So we'll select the Reviews tab to view and edit the review workflow and to create a new review and approval workflow. Okay, so under our project admin, services, document management reviews, if we have none, we can go ahead and say create approval workflow. The project managers can create a variety of review templates depending on what is to be reviewed and the project's internal workflow. Select one of the default approval templates provided to configure a review workflow for your project. You'll see you've got several templates here listed. There's a few more that I haven't displayed here that you can choose from. In the Configure Approval Workflow dialog box, the project managers will give the review process template a name. This could be a red line review, it could be red line by a particular discipline, it could be a percentage complete, whatever workflow that you need for redlining, you'll just want to give that a name that makes sense to the initiators when selecting it from the list. Let's see. This will be the internal name that the review template that the initiators will see when they go to create a new review. A description can be defined to further explain when this review template's to be used. You can select the project members that can initiate a review. You can select more than one person, role, or company. So in this example, I have individuals selected, but you could say this is for the MEP group or the architectural group. And so anybody within that company then could be an initiator or a reviewer as we go on. Let's see. You'll want to make sure that the initiator does have access to the project folders so they can select the files that are to be included in the review. The reviewer section will vary depending on the template chosen. There may only be a single reviewer, multiple reviewers, or a group of reviewers. And that goes back to the previous slide, depending on which workflow you selected, how many reviewers you will need. In this case, you can have multiple people listed here for this particular workflow that are approved reviewers. They don't have to all be on a review. If you have a single reviewer, you would select which one of those is going to be the reviewer for that particular workflow. But you can put multiple names in here of people to choose from when creating a new review. Select if you'll be using a single reviewer or a group reviewer process. In the reviewer section, select the project members that are going to be designated reviewers. Let's see, where am I at? I want to come down here. Let's go a little further. You'll see here that under the Initiate Review, you can now edit those to more meaningful labels by selecting the little pencil beside the review step and editing the text. For example, instead of a generic final review or initial review, you might put in it's a quality review. It could be the final approval, depending on how you would like to set those steps up and how you'd like those to be named. Those custom labels are also displayed in the email notification so that the recipients know the intent of the assignment and the other project members can understand better what's going on in that review process. In the document approval status section here, we can review the defaults, change existing statuses, or add additional statuses as needed. This is where it'll come in, where we'll go in and we're doing approving or not approving. That's where that comes in, of each individual file in the review. In the action upon completion section towards the bottom, You can choose to enable this option so that the approved documents are automatically copied and placed into a separate folder. This can be useful if the individuals that will be viewing and using the approved files don't have access to the original file folders. You can further define if all the files have to be approved or just a single file approved for the copy files to a folder to take place. You also can enable that the approver can change the location of the copy location. So instead of you defining it here, they would have the option to change it. That one concerns me a little bit, but depending on your workflow, that might be helpful to you. I would just keep in mind that, you know, there's some consistency should be there so that you can find what you're looking for as far as the approved files. You'll need to ensure that folks that need access to these files have permissions to access the folder that the files are being copied into, as well as the working file that they might use regularly. This would be the one concern I have too. If you allow the approver to move them to a different folder, they'll have to make sure they set up rights to that separate folder, whereas you can already have predefined rights to the designated folder that you set up as the project admin. And then you can add any custom notes as needed at the bottom. Okay. So just in review of the workflow here for using this review and approval process, in review, so before a project can get started, using the review and approval workflow, a project admin will need to set up the review workflow templates. So if someone tries to click on that review button and no templates have been set up, they're not going to be able to go any further. Once they're set up, those team members that are designated as initiators in the review workflow templates can select documents and start a new review and approval workflow. The available templates are going to be based on which templates the initiator was assigned to by the project admin. So again, as the project admin creates those templates, they select the individuals that are initiators for that project workflow or for that review workflow. They can have multiple templates. You might have some initiators that can start some workflows and some initiators that can use other workflows. Initiators can select from the list of project templates designated for each role in the select review template. The available project members for the view or approval phase are based on which project members were defined by the project admin for those chosen review templates. So again, that project admin, when they're making these review templates, are designating who can be an initiator and who can be a reviewer. Additional members can be added to be notified of the review process, but that's only to keep them in the loop of the review process. They cannot add someone to be a reviewer. Only the project admin can do that within the review template. In all cases, the documents will remain in the original folder with the approval status displayed. Depending upon the configuration set up by the project admin, the additional action in which the approved documents are copied, can occur. That has to, again, be set up by that project admin. In addition to the review workflow, there is now available some BIM 360 enhancements. So I wanted to just kind of mention those. If you've looked at this before, you may not be familiar with them. Once the approval has been defined by the project admin, the existing predefined approval workflows for the project are displayed on a review tab of the project admin module. Project admins can access existing approval workflows to configure, to duplicate, or to deactivate. So to create additional workflows, they can select the Create Approval Workflow button in the Project Admin module. So this is the same place that I was before, where it was a big blank screen with a Create Approval Workflow. But now that I have a couple in here, you'll see it looks a little bit different, and the button's been moved to the top. As far as duplicating or deactivating or reconfiguring, I can do that to the right of any of the particular workflows I've got set up. The reviewer buttons have also been changed to improve the review workflow so that the action options are more clear. So of course we have the submit for review. So once someone's done reviewing a file, they can submit that for review. But there's also a couple of other options now. One is release task. This will cancel the reviewer's assignment and it will be available for someone else to start the review for that workflow step. We've got void entire review. This will completely void the process. If it is decided that the files may not be ready for review, this will cancel that review process. And then we have an export report to download an Excel spreadsheet containing the review details and any comments made during the review and approval steps. Throughout the review process, you can check on the current status of the review in the Document Management module on the Reviews tab. You can see if a review is still in the review and approval process. It'll be noted with an orange bar and the status of open. While review is still open, you can see where in the process the review workflow is and when the review workflow is due to be complete. Once the final review has been submitted, the status will display as closed and the orange bar will turn gray. Off to the right of the screen on each one of the reviews, you can also see the current progress of the review. So clicking on any one of their reviews will show the list of files associated to that review, as well as the history of that review. In this case, you can see who the initiator was, when it was submitted for review, who the reviewer was, any submitted comments, and when that was reviewed and then approved. All right, so that's just kind of a quick run through of how you can start a review template, and then the general workflow for your initiator, your approver, your reviewer, and your approver on the review workflow. So if you have any questions on what I showed, go ahead and fill out your chat window with your questions. And while you're doing that, I'm going to quickly show you a couple little other tools that you may not be familiar with. So I'll give you a couple minutes to fill in the chat there. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about the project homepage. Folks spend a fair amount of time maybe in their documents. They may not spend a lot of time on their homepage. So I want to talk a little bit about what's available on the homepage that you may not be aware of. So let's take a quick little tour of the homepage. Here you can quickly evaluate areas that require the attention of you or your team and easily navigate to other modules to continue your work. The information presented in the project homepage depends on your project module, the module access that you have, and your project permissions. At a high level, as a project member, they can view issues directly relevant to them. For project members, for many project members, they can quickly see if they have any issues assigned to them that need to be addressed. In this case, as the project manager or the administrator, you can view details that can help you understand the most pressing needs as well as outstanding items at a project level. In this image, as the project admin, I have one panel that lists issues that are assigned to me. So here's my issues. And then I also have a panel that has the issues for the project. So this is a little outdated, but as you can see, there was just one assigned to me, but overall for the project, there was 2 issues. Also on the home page, many of these cards can be expanded and collapsed. Clicking to expand the project homepage card to full screen to get a better view, and then you can click it again to go back and minimize it. So if you want to get more information on there or be able to see it a little bit clearer, you can expand that out. You can view and edit settings by clicking the settings icon, and it will display data. In this case, we have a hide card or when it was last updated. Some cards have additional settings as well. If you would like to customize your home page, you can do that by coming in and clicking the Customize button in the upper right-hand corner. This allows you to control the visibility of the cards and the order of the cards on your home page. As an example, users can add cards to give them direct access to sets, transmittals, or even the reviews that we were just looking at by adding a BIM 360 custom card. So there's several predefined cards similar to what we see here, but we also can customize a card as well. So let's take a look at modifying the layout of the home page and adding a new card. Once you select the Customize button, it activates the home page panels so that they can be arranged and provide you access to the cards. So once you select the Customize button and the home page is active, you can select a panel and drag it around the screen and relocate where it might land. By selecting the card library at the top, you can get a list of other library cards that you can add to your home page. And one of those is the Customized BIM 360. So here's just a couple of the ones that are there that you can choose from. One of them is Approvals and Review. So we could use this one to see what approvals and reviews we have currently. And we also can create our own custom card if we would like. So if you wanted to use the approval one, just check the box. With a custom card, there's a couple more steps, so I'm going to go over that one for you so you can see how you can customize one. So in here, when I select on the Customize card, a little Configure button comes up and it will bring another dialog box up. You can give that card a name, whatever you might want it to be. And then you'll copy and paste the URL address for your for whatever information you want to show in here. In this case, I'm going to use it for my transmittals. So I'll go back to my transmittal tab, copy and paste the URL from my transmittal tab or my sets tab or my reviews tab and paste it in here. Once you've given the card a name, copied and pasted the URL, you can simply say save, and it will create a new panel for you. In this case, I put in one for transmittals, and so now I can see all the transmittals that I have created for my current project. So as I mentioned, you can go ahead and select from the pre-existing list, or you can create custom cards. You'll want to make sure that you go ahead and save those before you move on so that it saves that configuration and that card information. All right, so a couple more quick slides here, just kind of good to knows before we wrap it up. The first thing is if you want to know a little bit more about what's going on in the BIM 360 environment, what's planned, what's changed, what's new, this BIM 360 roadmap blog is a handy tool to have to go back and take a look at updates and changes in the future of BIM 360. Below that is just a screen capture of our Hagerman BIM 360 account. And I just wanted to point this out because when you're renewing your BIM 360 licenses, to make sure everything is tied together, we have to have this account ID. And not everybody knows where to locate that. If you've been invited to other projects and aren't currently creating projects of your own, or maybe you had collaboration for Revit, and it rolled over into BIM 360 and you're just now reviewing, you'll need to locate this information to make sure that your renewal is processed with your current account. So if you're requested this information from your account rep, this is what they're asking for. They'll likely send you some instructions that look similar to this. A couple of key things is that you'll want to make sure that you are in your BIM 360 site. If your name is not listed up here, you'll want to click on that, hit change account to make sure that you're in your account. Otherwise, you'll just see a list of all the projects you're a member of. So that's the first thing, if you don't see that number. The other thing is only the account administrator can access this information. So if you've been tasked with renewing the subscription, but you are not the account admin, please ask the account admin to get this information for you so that we can process your order without any delays. If for some reason you are the account admin and you still can't access this information, please let your account rep know, and then we can take a look at it with you. We can check with Autodesk to find out what might be going on. This is not information that we can readily, this is not information that we can access, so we need your help in gathering that information. So again, when you're renewing, we'll need your site ID and the name associated with your site, just kind of as a double verification. You'll just want to make sure you're in your BIM 360 site, make sure you're the admin, and just copy and paste that to your account rep so they can process your order. And again, if you have any trouble, let your account rep know, and one of the techs can follow up with you in Autodesk to figure out what's going on if you can't get there. So that wraps it up for this presentation. If you have any questions, let me know. I don't see any questions in the list. Oh, wait a minute, here's one. So I've got a question here. Does each discipline have an admin for their documents? That's going to be completely up to the project host, whoever is creating that project. In general, yes, you will see that each discipline will kind of have an admin for their documents. A lot of times a discipline might also be a company. So a company may be set up so that they're a project admin to add their users to the folders that they work in. Okay, so if it's electrical, they might have a project admin for the electrical group. They'll create an electrical folder. That's where they'll put their Revit files, their documents. They'll set rights to who has access to those folders. So I hope that answered the question. If you need a follow-up, let me know. Does anybody else have any questions that they might like to enter in? We can take another minute. If you do find you've got questions later on, by all means, you can email us and let us know, and we can follow up with you that way, or let your account rep know, and we can set up a call or exchange emails that way also. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got some more questions. It's all scrunched up here. Hang on a second. Pop that out. I'm sorry. Let's see. Missed his other question. 1 second. So the other question we had was, does this apply to the architects as admins? How do the other consultants use this process? So I think that's a similar question. If the whole team is working in BIM 360, then everybody would have a license of either BIM 360 Docs or Design, depending on if they're in a collaborative work sharing environment. And if they're in a collaborative work sharing environment, they would need BIM 360 Design. And then in that case, one person would be the host. They would create the project. They would create folders for each team, if that's the architect, mechanical, electrical, interiors. And then each discipline or group would then work within their folder, and they would have rights, for the most part, just to their work. And then there's, when they're ready to share their work, there's an option to go in and create what we call a package, and that puts it into a shared folder. So there's quite a bit of, there's different workflows that you can choose depending on the size of your team and the needs that you have. If you'd like to talk about this further, just let your account rep know. We can either do a demo for you. We can refer you to webcasts that I've done previously to kind of give you a better understanding to help you with answering your questions. All right, so I think I answered both the questions that we had in there, Ashley, and if you want to go ahead and wrap us up, I think we're good.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot, Alice, for the presentation. Once again, if you could just take a few moments to fill out the short survey, we would appreciate it. It will just automatically pop up as we close down today. Thanks for attending and have a great day, everyone.